Facebook turned 15 years old on Monday. The social media giant's influence is undeniable. Wired magazine published an article titled 15 Moments That Defined Facebook's First 15 Years. The piece details moments that highlight how the company has, quote, for better and for worse, forever changed how people connect, how businesses make money, how politicians seize power, and how information flows across communities and cultures. CBS News contributor and Wired senior editor Issy Lepowski wrote that article and joins us now to discuss. Issy, I have to start off with just the very first sentence that you wrote because it automatically transports the reader to a different time and place. You write, on February 4th, 2004, back when Hey Ya was still topping the charts and global dominion was but a glimmer in a young Mark Zuckerberg's eye, the 19-year-old Harvard sophomore and his roommates unleashed their creation, thefacebook.com, on humanity. Brilliant piece of writing there. Tell us about these moments that highlight how this company that we now know as Facebook, of course, fundamentally reshaped how people interact on the internet.
Right. So writing this story was really like going back in time, as if you could go back and sort of wave your hands in front of people and warn them of what was going to happen, because all the warning signs were there. Really from the early days of Mark Zuckerberg getting in this fight with the Winklevoss twins to the launch of News Feed, which had a whole bunch of privacy issues associated with it, you saw these two themes emerge. And one was that Facebook was going to be this really ruthless competitor in the industry, and it was going to do whatever it took to grow and grow and grow. And the other was that it was going to continue to have privacy issues, and it was going to continue to apologize for them, but keep on going on the same track. So you could kind of see how these events were setting the stage for what we now know to be Facebook all these years ago.
And Issy, I want to single out, you write about the like button and how pivotal that was in Facebook's development. Tell us about that.
Sure. So it's hard to imagine that the like button only came around in 2009 and that Facebook was ever a platform before it, because it has become so ingrained in our culture. It's become this currency for the internet and really created this world in which we all live and die by the validation we get on these platforms. And there were other forms of this on other platforms. So Twitter had something like it and Tumblr had something like it, but nothing was as ubiquitous as Facebook. And so when Facebook introduces the like button, suddenly they create this new incentive for the internet. And that not only plays out in our own social behavior, but obviously it impacts the news industry, it impacts politicians, it impacts everything. Likes become this new way that we measure the success or failure of information on the internet. And so I think it's really crazy to think how recent that is, given how pervasive it is in our culture.
And you touched on this a moment ago, Issy, but how has the company dealt with competition throughout the years?
Right. So we see way back in 2004, when Mark Zuckerberg was still at Harvard, the Winklevoss twins came to him and they said, we would like you to help us build essentially something very similar to Facebook. And it was called Harvard Connection, and Mark Zuckerberg was known as this coding whiz kid on campus. And so he starts working with them on this project. At the same time, he starts working on his own project, thefacebook.com. And as we all now know, if you've seen The Social Network, it turned into this years-long legal battle, but it shows that he saw this good idea, felt that he could do it better, and decided to execute on it. And because of speed and skill, he was able to do it. And now, in a lot of ways, Facebook also uses its size to watch what competitors are doing and to absorb it. We saw how, Instagram was becoming this threat to them around 2012, and what did Facebook do? It shelled out $1 billion to buy Instagram, and it was the best $1 billion they ever spent.
Well, there has been growing scrutiny of the company's data and privacy policies. How did the launch of the News Feed feature in 2006 change the nature of the company for the next 13 years?
Right. So I remember News Feed coming online in 2006. I was a college student, and we really had no warning. All of a sudden, they turned it on, and every action you had recently taken on Facebook was suddenly broadcast to your News Feed. If you remember, at the time, Facebook was just a series of profiles. So you would go and check on your friends' profiles and their posts on their walls, but there wasn't that central repository. There wasn't that central stream of action. Facebook turned it on, and people were outraged because they didn't want all of their information information being broadcast, every little move they made. And so we see how this has kind of extended to Facebook's behavior around sharing our data with third parties. A lot of people didn't know the extent to which they were going to do that when they signed up for Facebook, and Facebook did it anyway. Another similarity we see to more recent events is how Facebook responded. Mark Zuckerberg basically went out there and said, look, we thought that connection for connection's sake was the best thing, but we made a mistake and we're going to fix it. And they decided to give people more control over their newsfeed. But it makes you think, when today Mark Zuckerberg uses those same excuses about privacy missteps that they make, shouldn't they have learned their lesson a long time ago?
Right. Well, and officials have tried to hold the platform accountable for various practices over the years. How has Facebook's relationship with those officials changed over time?
Right. So in 2011, we saw really the biggest regulatory action against Facebook so far. This was the Federal Trade Commission came in and said, you have been using deceptive practices to change privacy settings on users without really telling them, without gaining their consent. And so Facebook entered what's known as a consent decree with the FTC, and they said they will be barred from making further deceptive promises and changes to their privacy settings. Now the FTC is looking into whether Facebook really held up their side of the bargain, because as we know, they've gotten into trouble over issues like the Cambridge Analytica scandal, where it turned out that they were sharing tons of people's data without their consent or knowledge with unknown numbers of third parties. So what we've seen from the reporting is that the FTC may soon come to a decision where they're going to fine Facebook, and we've heard that it could be a record-setting fine. Now, the issue is when you're a company like Facebook, even a record-setting fine can be a drop in the bucket.
Right, so we'll continue to watch that story and see what happens with Facebook here in the next 15 years. Issy Lepowski, great piece. Thanks so much, Issy.
Thank you.